This video we're going to review how to shoot bullets, do damage, affect health, things like that in our racing game for those of you who want to have shooting as a mechanic. Um, so the first thing of course we need if we're going to shoot is we need a bullet. So I just kind of took one of my little lightning bolts here I use for power-ups, and I just made it a bullet as well. So I made a prefab called lightning bullet. I made sure I gave it a tag as a bullet so we can tell in our collisions what it is we hit. I made sure it had the box collider 2D as a trigger, and I gave it a rigid body 2D. We're actually going to move this with the rigid body. There's a couple of different ways we could handle this, but this seems to work pretty good. So I'll show you how to make this guy move with his rigid body. And in this, at least in this example, we won't have any script on our bullet. We're just going to kind of set it loose and send it on its way. So here's our prefab for the bullet. And again, once you're done messing with it, you drag it down to your project panel and you have a prefab. So I'm going to get rid of him out of the scene. Okay, so now we have to have a control also set up to fire our bullet. So we're going to go into our project settings, to our inputs, and I took what was the jump input and I just renamed it as fire because that's already hooked up to my space bar. And we're going to set this up in such a way that we can actually eventually talk about how to use the Xbox controller to control our game. So I did want to set this up as an input in the input manager so that we could do that later on. So this is set up for the space bar, for key, our mouse button. So we've got that all set up there in our input manager. So next we have to go to where we're going to check for that input. We're going to do that in our racer controller script here. So in the update function, which is constantly running, we want to check to see if we got a fire. So we're going to use input get button down, and then we tell it the name of our input that we did in the input manager. So this will check for whatever key I've tied to the fire in the input manager. And so once we get that as a true, we know, hey, all right, we push the space bar. We're going to go ahead and instantiate a new bullet. So I do want to temporarily store it in a variable. So I'm going to make a new bullet transform variable so that I can affect it. Now, before we can instantiate, we actually need a bullet that we can make, right? So we need the bullet prefab. So I did make a variable up here for the bullet as a transform, and then out in Unity, let's go to the player here. I have my bullet here, and I just grabbed my bullet from the project panel and dropped it in here. That's my prefab, so the computer knows what I want it to make another one of. Okay, so we're going to store that. We're going to do an instantiate. We're going to instantiate a bullet at the position and rotation of our player. Okay? Then we're going to go to that new bullet I just made, and we want to get his rigid body 2D component. So we're going to get that, and then we're going to do the add force command. Add force will add a force to the rigid body. So just like in real life, if you shoot a projectile of some sort, you've got an initial force that launches it. So that's what we're doing here. We're adding a force. We're adding it along the transform.up of the bullet. Okay, so transform.up is the y-axis direction of the bullet. So this way, whichever way the race car is pointing when we shoot it, the bullet is also getting rotated that same direction. So his green arrow will be pointing towards the front of the car, and we're going to push it in that direction. And then we have to tell it how hard to push it. We're going to push it times 1,000. That seems to work pretty good. That pushes our bullet along at a pretty good speed. Okay. Then we're also going to make sure that we clean these bullets up. So if they don't hit anything within 2 seconds here, we're going to destroy it. So here's destroy. What I want to destroy, new bullet. I want to destroy the game object of new bullet, and I'm going to put a little delay timer on here. The 2 will be 2 seconds. So this basically sets a self-destruct timer on the bullet. If it doesn't hit anything else that it cares about within 2 seconds, then it will destroy itself. Alright, so we should be all ready now to shoot these bullets and watch them go. So let's go back in the Unity here, and let's hit play. And when I hit the space bar, once this thing all starts, I should be able to shoot a bullet. So here we go, and there it went. Did you see it? You can see it out in the scene view there too after it leaves my screen. It keeps going, and if you watch in the hierarchy here, see the bullets right here, and after 2 seconds it pops out. Now, one of the drawbacks here we have is that I can't actually shoot through walls right now. So if you watch like in my mini map or watch up in the scene view, when I shoot, you see they're just passing through the whole entire game here. So that's probably not good. We should probably stop it at some point. We may want to add a script to the bullet that just tells it, hey, if you hit anything, destroy yourself. But that gets it shooting and moving. Okay, now for causing damage to our enemies here, to cause damage we actually have to have some health. So in our AI racer here, we're going to make a variable for health. I'll just make it an integer this time. We'll just have whole number health points. We'll assign that out in the inspector. And then the AI racer here is going to need to have a onTriggerEnter. Okay? So we're going to have an onTriggerEnter function here. And we're going to be looking for a collision with a bullet. And if we get a collision with the bullet, we'll subtract some from the health. So in this case, I just picked 5 arbitrarily, health minus equals 5. Then after we take the damage away, we check to see, hey, do we have any health left? If health is less than or equal to 0, then we're out of health and this guy needs to go away. So there's lots of different things we could do here. You can instantiate an explosion here. In this case, I just grabbed a hold of the sprite renderer and the box collider 2D of the racer and turned them off so that he will disappear visually and his box collider will go away. And then I actually turned off this script here, the AI racer script as well, by saying this.enable equals false. You could just reposition them off the screen. You can move them back to another spawn point, spawn a new racer. You could just make him go back to the last spawn point he was at, or the last waypoint that he was at, and let him go again. Whatever you want to do. Of course, we also want to make sure we destroy that bullet when it hits us. So other game object in this example would be the bullet. That's the other object in the collision. So we just destroy him here. All right. So that will affect health. So let's go out here and see that working. So when I hit play here, I actually disabled this AI racer so he can't run away from me. So see, he's kind of stuck there. I just turned his top speed off. So now I can shoot him and he can't get away from me here. Oh, let's make sure we're clicked in on him. Okay, now if I shoot him, his health is right here, this 50. So let's shoot him and see if that goes down. So see, it hit him, it disappeared. I can keep shooting him. It's down to 5, one more shot, and he disappeared. See, his script turned off, his sprite render turned off, and his box collider turned off. Like, I can turn his sprite render back on. There he is. If I turn his collider back on, oops, I guess got hit, then he can be collided with again, but we don't want that once he's gone. So again, lots of different options for what you can do. This is just an example. It might not even be the best way to do this for your game. You've got to determine what you want to happen in your game and what makes the most sense and works the best, and do that. So hopefully this helps you with making bullets shoot in the direction you want them to go and doing some collision and affecting damage and health.